You're listening to This Week in No Code plus AI, with weekly episodes sharing the latest advancements of AI, plus exclusive interviews, founders using these tools. So without any further ado, let's get started. And here I am with the co-founder and CEO of Xano, Prakash. Thank you for joining us on our show today.
JJ, I am so happy to be here. It's really good to see you as always.
It's always good to see you as well. It was great catching up with you before the show. But for our viewers that don't know you yet, we would love to learn more about you and your journey as the CEO of Xano. Tell us a little bit before Xano and then how you came to starting this company with the other co-founders.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. I probably most notably spent many years as a designer at Google. Spent almost a decade there
I didn't
designing
know that.
things, working on Google Calendar, working on G Suite or Workspace, whatever they call it these days. That's kind of really where I kind of grew up in technology. I was, of course, doing technology before that, but after Google, I really wanted to start my own thing. And so I did a startup of my own, which I call 3.5 years of me getting the crap kicked out of myself, just learning about the do's and don'ts of startup life. And in that time, I did what a lot of people did at the time, which is spend a lot of money on creating bespoke software. And I remember during that time, it's kind of like working with a car mechanic when they tell you, like, something is going to cost this much money and take this much time. You just kind of have to believe them. And the no code space at the time was so kind of nascent that there's no way I could build something bespoke. So that always like kind of stuck with me, being like, if I had more control, especially around the back end, the most important piece of the software, I think I could have really made this something. So kind of fast forward a couple of years, after my failed startup, I basically went into consulting, as one does after a failed startup, and then stayed in touch with my two co-founders, who were running an agency. And at that agency, they were building Xano as an internal tool to help bring on more customers without growing their team. And at this time, when I was consulting, I saw this growing no-code space. And I also saw this hole and an opportunity where no-code was saying, like, people said that you couldn't scale, you couldn't grow, it wasn't secure. And I was like, if we took this thing that you've built as an internal tool and productize it, I think we might have something special. So that's kind of like my journey into the founding story of Xano. So I'll pause there and maybe have you ask whatever questions you want there.
I didn't know you were a designer. That is very fascinating. And you started a database company as a designer. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's why Xano, or at least I'd hope, is more accessible than a lot of other like developer centric like infrastructure type tools, because I am not an engineer by trade, right? Like, I am more of a product and design type person. And I think designers actually usually graduate to product people, and sometimes they graduate into engineers, but we're all systems thinkers. And I was like, as long as we can like teach people the primitives and the words, they're going to figure it out. And that's definitely proven to be the case.
So this would be a good time to introduce Xano, what it is and how it helps people.
Yeah, for sure. So Xano right now is a visual development tool for the backend, right? We are a complete backend. So more than just a database, we can provide your infrastructure that you build on, a Postgres database, an orchestration API layer that you can basically use to build your business logic and connect it to any front end that you want. We've evolved quite a bit, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. But yeah, that's what it is today. And we basically connect with lots of different front end type tools, including the tools that you see out there, like WeWeb, like Softr, like Bubble, etc. But a lot of people also use us to connect to like custom development frameworks as well.
Great. When you saw Xano, and it was a very small project with a two-person agency, where was it at that stage where it's like, it's doing this one thing really well, let's take that and grow it into its own company?
Yeah, so I think like very early on, we did not think that it was going to be what it is today. We just knew that, hey, it's going to be a tool that's going to help with backend creation quickly. And it was one of these things where, as that internal tool, I just kind of saw, I was not a co-founder of Xano at the time. It was Jack and Sean working on it together. I was like, okay, I'm seeing you build all of these things for your customers, and I'm seeing this massive need in the market. And I kind of forced them to say, like, look, I think we should try to productize this and make this accessible for people. And so eventually I convinced them. This was like in 2018. And then in 2021, we just launched just to see what would happen. And it started kind of picking up, and like more and more people started using it because it was solving a real problem.
And what was that problem at the time? Like database with the ability to have, a function layer in addition to that, or where were you at that early stage?
Yeah, I think it was around API creation, doing it in such a way to where people did not have to stand up their own servers. They could stand up their APIs in a way that was more than just like CRUD operations. Like, yes, of course, read, write your database, but what happens when you want to build something more complex? And it turned out that this visual way that we allowed people to build their business logic what really resonated with a lot of people. And because we focused just on the back end, as you start to build production grade software, you always generally decouple your back end. It was a way for them to focus on that as something separate than everything else that they were doing on the front end.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and there's a huge need for it in many different ways. Looking back since 2021, since you brought it, the product has changed so much, and so has the industry. Talk us through like that evolution of the product from like where it was back then to maybe where you are today and where it's going.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at the time that we launched, it was kind of like the time of like a no code scalable backend. That was our positioning at the time because no code wasn't considered scalable and there wasn't really a tool that 100% focused on the backend. So from this evolution, we saw a lot of growth in being that de facto backend, especially in the no code space that would power a lot of different front end builders. Like late in like 20 or middle to late 2024, a lot of the attention around no code as an alternative to traditional development shifted to a lot of the AI builders that we see today, like Bolt, like Lovable, where you can just type a prompt and it just builds everything. And obviously, we're still in this cycle to where you see a lot of it's kind of the war of the full stack builders. Everything is starting to look a little bit the same. But ironically, the needs of production grade, enterprise grade software have not changed, right? You still need to really understand the business logic of your backend. You still need to be able to govern, control, and scale it. And also, increasingly, I don't have to tell you, in this world we're moving into, which is this agentic era, increasingly more people are going to want to do things through a chatbot interface, right? Like, think about how your search behavior has changed. Everyone is kind of using, ChatGPT, Perplexity nowadays. Now they're going to want to get things done through there. So businesses that, especially the businesses that we speak to, are thinking, how do I get my business logic not necessarily in an app or a web application, but as capability to meet users where they are? And in that world, the back end, the logic layer becomes the most important thing. So we are aspiring to be kind of the best back end for this agentic era. And right now, we're meeting users where they are in this transition and being the best unified backend for the next generation of developers.
What are some cool use cases that you're seeing on your side with your customers of how they're using Xano in like a practical sense?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a lot of people, there's obviously a lot of talk around agents, but we still very much see this as in the experimentation phase. A lot of what we're seeing is AI powered applications. So you'll see, like, I just saw a customer the other day who leverages us to basically build in a single prompt a whole video for an advertisement for a marketing campaign. So companies like Woolite will use them to generate their ads, and that is everything is powered in Xano. So because we're a complete backend, we do the database. We can kind of do the model orchestration. Everything is built directly on Xano. So those types of applications that leverage AI in their application workflow are some of the types of things that we're seeing.
For those that aren't aware of Xano, but maybe have been using Cloudflare, their workers, their storage, what is the value add on that Xano provides that maybe they don't get out of Cloudflare? Like, the value there.
Yeah. So when you think about tools like Cloudflare or tools like Supabase, like these separate tools that focus on one part of the infrastructure, Xano is everything in one. So you can think about us as like, we take care of the Google Cloud part, we take care of the API orchestration part. But the most important piece that I think that we get right is we have this logic builder that is visual and very accessible. So rather than building your own TypeScript, JavaScript, you're able to visualize the code or the business logic, and you're able to connect it to all these different things. So not only do we take care of the DevOps work for you, but that visual logic layer allows you to build everything and then connect it to everything. Why is that important? Well, we live in this world where we need to understand what it is that the AI created. And even though the AI can just generate things quickly, you have different types of stakeholders and personas that need to build in your application. Sometimes the developers will 100% want to work in their IDEs and they understand everything. But for a product owner type, we have a visual canvas that's about to come out that makes it really easy. It's very similar to N8N to like really abstract the business logic and what's happening. We also have our traditional function stack, which is basically the line by line primitive view, for loops, conditionals, all the logic layer that everyone needs to see in order to work together. So I think that that's how we separate ourselves.
Very cool. I have a lot of ideas running through my head of all the ways that it could be used. We talked about chat to build. Has Xano integrated any kind of chat to build functionality yet either as well?
Yeah. So so currently what we have today are assistants. And so AI assistants. So you can go and you can chat to build things like your database, right? And you can even like use chat to build to like enhance like your SQL queries or your API requests. But in this next release, you're also going to be able to do this with your business logic as well across the different primitives on Xano. And one of the best parts and the things that make us unique is XanoScript. I've talked about this for a while, but it's going into production in this next release. With XanoScript, you're going to be able to use your IDE outside of Xano to build everything within Xano. So the beautiful thing is it's not just building your business logic, it's building your database structure, it's building your unit tests, it's building your workflows, it's building your agents. You can build everything programmatically within or outside of Xano. And the beauty of doing it within Xano is you can visualize everything that's happening.
That's awesome. With you being the CEO and in this incredible industry that we're in, what gets you most excited about Xano and where this product is going, and maybe why it's such a great time for Xano in the industry that we are in?
I think what gets me most excited is that, first and foremost, I believe that AI in many cases, or in many ways, has just democratized software creation in a way that I don't think any of us could have anticipated in the past couple years.
We had hoped no code did it, but it didn't do it the way AI is doing it.
100%, 100%. And it's amazing to see so many new people building. But you brought up no code. A lot of the lesson, like people said the same thing about no code at the time, like, oh, no code is going to completely replace developers and replace traditional development. And I think we're starting to see like this is just another modality to build quickly, but it still takes responsibility to build in a way that is production ready when you're building software that matters. And so what excites me most is that more and more people are creating software. It's a boon for humanity, and that we get to play a role in helping to create what is the most important part of that software development, which is all of the business logic and systems that power the things that people work with and see. I also love this agentic era that we're moving into. Just the possibilities are endless, and it's really been interesting to see how organizations are thinking about transitioning their business logic and use cases to this new world we're moving into.
Yeah, I think that's well said, and you gotta love the facts of Xano, the positioning of right now data's king, and it will remain to be king. Interfaces are going to change a lot. The modality of those are going to change a lot. But data is always going to be there, and you're going to need that data more than ever. You're going to need to power it. You need to get insights from it. Where is Xano in the sense of like vectorizing their database and being able to use it for RAG and all these other capabilities? Is that available with Xano?
Yes, 100%. So you're able to kind of vectorize your data today. We have PG Vector, and we're currently building more native workflows for solving use cases like the internal knowledge base. That's like one of the most common things that we see people do. They're like kind of an internal perplexity. And right now, it's kind of a disjointed way to do this. In a lot of tools, you have to like stitch together a lot of different things. But one of the things we're working on is like, how do we make it just like simple? Like users just upload their documents. We take care of all the chunking, everything for you, and then you're able to just connect it and use it. So that is definitely something you're able to do. And that's the whole point, right? Within a lot of these other tools, you have to stitch a lot of things together. We just want to be a single place that's production grade, and we have a lot of security certifications that people can trust to build on in order to power these new workflows.
Yeah. And that's how I think of Xano as well, a powerful enterprise grade database that you could trust. Like I think you've definitely done so much to build that confidence with the community and whatnot. For the builder that you're looking for, who is that builder? Is it a first-time no coder? Is it a SQL programmer? Like who is that ICP that you're going after for that builder persona?
Yeah, so I'll let me talk about like the three different types of like people that find the most success with Xano, and there's kind of the builder and then the buyer. So generally, we will serve a scaling startup founder who wants to build something and take it to production. We serve a product owner that's embedded in an organization that is trying to build something business critical, but doesn't necessarily have the resources. And we also serve and we see the most success with these application development leaders who are forward thinking, who say, look, we're going to build something different in a different modality, in a different way. And they're able to build really amazing things with Xano. Like recently, a derivatives trading company came to us. They have over 100 developers on Xano. And within 4 months, they've built like 26 different use cases to power their wallets and everything like that. So it's really amazing to see. So those are the kind of people that really look to Xano to solve their business problems. In terms of the type of users, what's interesting is I wouldn't say that we're kind of for the beginner no coder. We're definitely for someone that understands the primitives of APIs, databases, toolings, because we are a complete backend, right? We're more than just a database. So what we see is the highest and best use of Xano is someone who is kind of a technical thinker. That could be a designer, that could be a product owner type, and even developers. And the highest and best use of Xano is when they're working together. And now in a world where we have the three modalities of building, we have visual, we have prompt base, and now we have XanoScript, so like programming. You're going to be able to have one environment where you can build everything together, and the developers can stay where they're most comfortable, which is in Claude Code or in VS Code, and just have things populate automatically within Xano.
Very cool. Have you guys put together an MCP yet?
Yes, 100%. So Xano MCP, and you can also build and host your own MCPs within Xano. So we got both.
Very cool.
Yeah, and we also have a very robust metadata API that in the next release is going to include just a lot more. And I think that something that separates us from a lot of other tools is, again, things like unit tests, things like that integrate into your CI/CD process. So when you want to build responsibly, visualize what's happening, but not sacrifice all of the parts of the software development lifecycle, you can do it programmatically.
Very cool. It's very powerful and really important, especially in a production grade. Wait, let's talk about like where you think things are going. I think this last couple of years has been really changing in many ways. Like of course the rise of ChatGPT, the rise of the Lovables of the world. Yeah, as we continue to look in towards the future, where do you think technology is going here? Do you have any kind of bets or big statements you want to make, or any kind of things like that you of a direction that you think we might be going?
So maybe like high level commentary on what I'm seeing in today's market. So I definitely am seeing a lot of hype right now in terms of like how easy it is to just build something. And I think the hype piece of it is that people are like, oh my God, this is just going to replace everyone and all the jobs. I don't necessarily think that that's true. And I think that when the people that I talk to, at least, there's a lot of experimentation going on, but they're being very measured. And these organizations are being measured with how they adopt AI. In fact, I think we're just in the early innings to figure out what each tool is used for. So, for example, like the Bolt and Lovables of the world, which are absolutely amazing tools, we're seeing that kind of more in the like the product management iteration phase, right? Rather than doing the PRD, they're just building it. But in terms of going to production, well, that still is then taken and then maybe exported to VS Code and or used as a framework to then kind of go and build something custom or something in Xano. So I think that in today's world, we're still trying to figure out the right way to leverage these tools in the software development process. The In terms of where things are going, as I mentioned, everything is going to be agentic at some point, but we're not there yet. And I think this is important to say. People still have business logic today. They still have applications today that they need to make accessible to an agent or accessible via an MCP. So how do they do that, right? And I think that software vendors of today, like Xano, need to help them navigate that, right? And we have tools, for example, within Xano where you have all of your business logic or a Swagger document, and you could just make that into an MCP tool. So that's one step, that's one part of it. But I do think that people are trying to figure out how to navigate this transition and ultimately be kind of where users are searching because like I said earlier, like I don't even go to Google anymore. I just use ChatGPT or Perplexity. And increasingly, I'm going to just want everything done there. I don't know that I'll ever go to a native mobile app, or I'd prefer a native mobile app when I can have an experience of just an agent doing things for me. But what is the first step, right? And I think that's something that is yet to be seen. We're seeing a lot of point solutions, but I'm very interested to see kind of how things go there. And I'm interested to hear your thoughts around it too.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think a lot of companies right now know that they need to implement AI, but they don't know how or where to. And there's a lot of fuzziness around that. It's like, okay, well, everyone's saying we need to implement AI. Okay, but what does that look like for our business? Let's
Yeah.
try and figure this out. But there's a lot of training that needs to happen of like what AI can actually do for your business. And then within that, there's a lot of industry knowledge or domain knowledge that each team member or each team can bring to that, but without them being trained or have the insight of what AI could do, that is also lacking. And so, yes, I think top-down approach, what I'm seeing is similar to where you are, is CEOs and company owners want to add AI for the efficiency, for the cost saving. However, doing it in practice and finding the right tools, the right way to do it has been hard because
Yeah.
there's a lot of upscaling that needs to happen. There's a ton of different tools and a ton of different processes. And so I think it's going to be one of those things that just it happens over time, slowly as each of their employees learns more, becomes more comfortable, sees opportunities. We start to have people from the inside of each company kind of grab the torch and then show other people the way to do it within their department, kind of thing, and have those internal enablers, come together. And so I think people want it, and I think this is the most I've ever seen from a demand perspective. Like I've been waiting
Totally.
for this demand in the no code market for the last 6 years, right? And it just was never there the way it is with AI. Now AI feels like it's finally here, and the demand is finally here. Now we need to help them with enablement, education, and the tools that they need to really find the success that they need in their specific problems that they're solving.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And what's interesting is, all of the attention that's going to AI and these AI builders. What's interesting and ironic is they're building no-code features or visual development features to make it more accessible. So the worlds are kind of converging there, and I think that's just really exciting to see, frankly.
Yeah, it's exactly it. So we have no code platforms that are now building towards the AI platforms. And
Yeah,
then we have AI platforms that are now building towards the no code platforms. So eventually we're going to come together here. And I think that's the best of both worlds. It's coming
yeah.
together. They're visual with the power of code, but in a visual way with the power of AI. So I'm excited for that.
I think that's what I was saying. A lot of people, I think when they say like vibe coding and vibe coders, sometimes I feel like there's a negative connotation being like, oh, these are kind of like the yuppies that are prototyping, right? They're not
No
doing
code had
anything.
the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's going to just become, like I said, a modality, like this prompt response, this ability to co-create with your AI and then being able to then visualize and control what's going on. The vibe modality will just be there. There's going to be the visual modality, and then there's going to be the programming developer modality. And all three are important and they will serve different personas for sure.
Yeah, I'll tell you what some of the things we're seeing at Softr is Softr, we like to think that we're one of the easiest to use no-code platform. It's literally blocks you drag onto your screen and you connect to data. Well, we've started to hear users arrive to Softr for the first time and say, well, you don't have a chat bot or chat box, I don't know what to do. And so
Yeah.
they leave. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those things where it's like, well, it's just, but you're so used to one thing now. And so if you don't have that one thing, it doesn't, you got to meet them where they are at the same time. And so
Totally.
user behavior is changing. I think yeah, like to your point, it started with ChatGPT, people getting really comfortable with prompting, and now they want to prompt to build in many different ways. And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of benefits to that. One of the things that I really like with that mechanism is it helps to allow for education in the prompts, like specifically when using cursor, you're asking it to do things, it's responding, it's telling you what it's kind of doing, and it's teaching you along the way. Something where point and click things never really got. You
Yeah.
point and clicked, and if you didn't point the right thing, it never told you, kind of thing. And so I think there is an opportunity for added adoption with this, modality, but um, also it does stuff that you don't actually know that it's doing sometimes too, and that adds some friction to the process.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think like the one shot builds, it's a great magic trick. And I think it's great for creating the scaffolding. But even if it did everything that you wanted, it doesn't teach you and it doesn't learn. And I think anyone who's developed software understands that it is an iterative process. So to your point, I think what it can really enable is this education. When you're leveraging AI in this way, where step by step, you're understanding the plan. You're going through, you're saying, okay, I'm going to build this part. Is this what you mean? And then educating the user as they go on their building journey. I think that's the highest and best use for it. And that's what I'm extremely excited that, yes, more and more people, we've democratized the ability for people to build. And I think tools, like the Softrs of the world, like Xano, that are trying to help them build responsibly and build kind of in this step-by-step manner can really help educate them on like their next build and their next build after that, to build bigger and better software.
Yeah, I think on the contrary to that, the AI app builders, they give you kind of what you want so quickly that you don't get a chance to learn kind of what happened. And so when something doesn't work, you're at a bigger disadvantage of, well, what doesn't work because you never learned as much because it didn't take you as long. And so I think that they will catch up. They're this early. And so, yeah,
Yeah,
figuring out how these non-technical people build for the first time and how to educate them along the way and how to set them up for success. The AI builders give you magic in the first couple of moments, but you can't teach app building in the first couple of moments. And so,
yeah,
yeah, guiding them through that way and showing them what you're doing while they're doing it, I think we'll continue to see both platforms converge until we see, a couple winners where it's like we're letting you build something that's production grade, that's secure, that accomplishes what you need in as little hours as possible. But we're also showing you how to do it and how to use it and how to leverage it, which then allows you to leverage it even further rather than stopping, abandoning, or running off and trying another tool to see if it gets you
totally.
there.
Yeah, I think the you asked about like, kind of a big idea or something in the future. I think this is just something that I want people to be mindful of, and even myself, right? I feel like people today are sacrificing skill development for speed.
Hmm.
And I think that it's AI is amazing. And I think it is great that we're able to do so much. But I have found myself, even like I have to like pump the brakes on relying on AI so much, because like the muscle that I have in critical thinking, and of course this applies to software creation when you're building something that needs to be secure and scalable and reliable. You have to stop and think, and you have to be able to learn alongside of it. And I think that this is something where I would just kind of say, and this is again even for myself, as we start to build, that's just a critical component. It's what we're talking about. You have to be able to co-create alongside of it from a place of understanding and not just like the one shot doing it for you.
Yeah, I think a good way that I like to make this relatable use cases. So, everyone's using AI to create content now. And now it's really easy to spot the posts that are created with AI because AI has a certain way. It's like almost AI slop in that way. And so I think that this is very similar to when you have AI write code for you. It's doing that post for you. It's accomplishing the job, but it's lacking maybe your personality, your critical thinking of it all. It's lacking, kind of what makes you unique in that code creation right now. And so it's doing it for you, but you can still do it better and to not remove yourself from this process because I don't want to follow someone that is just posting AI stuff. I want to follow real people that I can relate to, that are authentic, that I can learn from. And as soon as that turns into AI slap, I just lose interest, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to leverage these tools, to know how to use these tools, when to use these tools, and when not to use these tools. And I'll give you one more example. I had originally for this podcast created an AI agent producer that would answer my emails, help with booking and scheduling and everything. And it did just about everything and it worked. But the problem was is for me, this podcast is just as much about relationship building as it is about doing the podcast. And so by having my AI do that for me, I was losing out on the chance of building a relationship with my guests, right?
Hmm.
And that was really important to me. And so yeah, my AI was doing it, but it actually wasn't accomplishing one of the things that I wanted to do and how I wanted to operate for myself and my brand. And so I turned it off, right? And so now that we have it, let's make sure that we're using it in a way that's very intentional and that in a way that you want to be reflected as a professional, a human, etc.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's, I mean, coming back to software development or as it applies to software development, it's just like when you're building something again that matters, it's really important to like really understand and grok those building blocks. And I do think that that's something that no code has always done really well. It was maybe never as accessible or fast, but guess what? We're now living in a world where the two worlds are marrying together and you don't have to like sacrifice one or the other. You can have those things. And so that's why I'm just really excited about like, kind of especially the next year, what that's going to look like for software creation.
Yeah, at the very least, people's minds are open now in ways that they were never open before. And I think AI is kind of forcing us to upskill faster than ever before, which allows us to adopt more tools and what as well. So I think it's a really great time for us. I do think that there are some unfair ideas of like, well, it needs to happen in 1 minute or 2 minutes. But I think I think right now that we're kind of fade away as we get more realistic about how this actually works and how, good implementation actually happens. And we'll continue to kind of balance out of like finding, all right, how is this really practical? How is this really purposeful in the coming year as we kind of come down from the hype and actually try to implement it into real right ways? And so I'm very excited about it. I think this is a great time for us
Yeah.
in this space. And I love to see Xano continuing to lead in this space. So hats off to you guys.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think we want to continue to. I mean, everyone has had to evolve. Especially, I think everyone would be lying, especially in the no code space, if like our heart didn't jump into our throat when we started to see all these AI builders like just taking off. I'm like, okay, wait,
Yeah,
like, where's our business now? What are we? What is our place in this new space of software development? I think it is
right.
kind of taken a while for us to kind of figure that out, even for ourselves. I know a lot of software vendors. I talk to CEOs that have gone through this, but now that we're here, I'm more excited than anything else. And like I said, we want to be our focus has always been on building the best, most secure, most reliable, most scalable backend, right? And I want to make sure that that is where we continue to invest and continue to build and to be that unified backend for this next generation of developers, this next generation of builders that we're talking about that are going to build responsibly. And we have a responsibility as a vendor to make that accessible to them. And now, and what we'll also you'll see in this next release, we're even have the ability to even host your front end. So even if you're building somewhere else and you want something secure and scalable and you want to put your front end on it, you'll be able to do that too. So we're really going end to end in the way that we're servicing the community and the next generation of builders.
Very cool. And you have the resources with your recent raise and the team to do it. I think your team's up to 50 now.
Yeah, it's around that.
Yeah, a great number with great resources. So I'm excited to see what you guys do next. Thank you for coming on our show this week. It was wonderful having you here. For those that want to get started with building with Xano, where do they find you?
You can just go to xano.com. We're very excited to see what you create. And we've got a great and vibrant community at our community.xano.com and also an awesome YouTube channel where we're constantly teaching new and better ways to build.
Awesome. Thanks for joining the show.
Yeah, thank you, JJ.